Before we get to our show, here is a podcast we think you're going to love.
Hello, I am Ood from the Occulte Veritatis podcast. Occulte Veritatis is Latin for hidden truth, and that is exactly what we look for in our podcast. We're three Canadians that love mysteries, true crime, and anything that intrigues or horrifies us. Each week, Ood, Sage, and Leon dive into a subject that has caught our attention. We come to the studio ready to present to our fellow co-hosts and to you, the audience. So if you like stories of crimes being committed, conspiracies abound, and other horrors of reality, tune in. You can find us at www.ovpod.ca. There you will find all the links you need to subscribe and listen. I hope to see you there.
Hi Liz, how's it going?
Hello, Samantha. How are you?
Great.
Hello, 5 listeners. You are listening to Perhaps It's You, an unofficial Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast. Is it affiliated with its hosts? No.
No, not in any way.
Is it affiliated with its producers?
No.
No, absolutely not. Is it affiliated with Robert Stack's Ghost?
Well, yeah.
We would like to think so, but that's also unofficial. Is this our dumbest intro yet? Yes. Possibly. Hello, everyone.
I can hear podcast apps turning off.
Unsubscribe. Well, it was good while it lasted.
We know that at least one person is unsubscribed because we did get our first 1-star iTunes review.
Well, it wasn't a review. It's just a rating.
That's true. It was just a rating. So we were kind of speculating who this person may have been. Liz thought it could be someone who lives in a tiny house.
Yeah, I don't care if some men's rights activist that lives in a tiny house doesn't like our show. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
But it might have been someone that we do care about.
No.
It's a shame they didn't leave a message. It probably isn't, though.
No,
I thought
it's not.
it could potentially
1
be...
star? No.
The Unsolved Mysteries lawyers. I thought maybe that could have been...
Very possible. I'm sure they hate us.
It could have been Jerry Strickland.
Well, we did call him
a dirtbag.
A dirtbag and dumb several times.
And we took the title of MVM away from him.
Yeah. So it's probably him.
It could be a treasure hunter.
We've
offended lots of treasure hunters, I'm sure.
When we started thinking about it, we're like, how does anyone listen to this show? We've alienated everyone. We're sorry if you hunt for treasure and live in a tiny house and aren't cool with us, saying nice things about Satanism.
I'm sorry if you have a mustache and a beard and Liz thinks you don't deserve MVM.
I'm just saying it's not a mustache. It's like a different thing.
Speaking of, I would say that Detective Frank won MVM
yes!
for our last episode.
I'm so proud.
Poor Beachy came in last place by a lot. Everyone voted for Frank.
I mean, Beachy had a name, and I thought that was going to pull him through.
And his hair. I thought the overall aesthetic, I thought, would rise him to the top.
But Frank just had a better mustache and a very well-groomed overall look. Mm-hmm. The people were into, so Frank. You have to be on Instagram to vote for these things, by the way.
Go follow us on Instagram. We're at Perhaps It's You. We post our favorite mustache every week. Sometimes we have debates about who... Let me tell you, there will be no debate about who gets MVM for this episode.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
You don't immediately know who it is?
I mean, I have my pick.
Okay.
So when we get to that mystery, I'll yell it out, I guess.
Sure. How's your week gone?
I have turned into a hibernating bear. Remember how we started every fall podcast with, oh my God, we've been having so much fun. I'm like worn out by how much fun we have. That's long gone.
We were doing a lot of activities this fall.
Now it's just, if I'm not in my bed, it feels like a waste of time.
This is the time of year up in the frozen north where you kind of want to hibernate.
The days are so short.
It's pretty much dark all the time.
Yeah, I get tired really early, but unlike you, I don't have a responsible sleep schedule. So that just means I'm like just tired, but still awake forever. So, okay. Last night, I decided to watch Riverdale in bed. And I got some brie. I got some sparkling wine with some berries in it.
Wow.
I put on my favorite sheet mask.
Well, and sounds lovely.
Was lying there going, if this is how I spend my last few minutes on Earth, I'm really okay with it. So I guess I'm still saying I wish I was dead, like last week, but in a positive way, where I was like, this could be the end for me, and I'm okay with it.
I mean, that's the attitude to have, I guess.
Yeah. If I could be doing that and planning my funeral in my last, because I love to plan a party. If I can be doing those things and planning my funeral and then just like, drift away.
Sure.
I really hope I die in bed. And I really hope something good's on TV.
That would be the best way to go.
If the fucking Drew Carey show's on when I'm dying, I'm haunting some shit. I'm going to be so pissed. That's when I'll come back. Like, how could you leave that on in the hospital? No.
This is terrible.
Put on some Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
While I'm dying. That's the point. That's
Put
how
on your
important.
favorite
That's how
episode.
important TV is to me, folks, and that's why we're here.
What episode of Unsolved Mysteries would you be watching on your deathbed? Kurt McFall?
Yeah, that or the Magic Rock.
It would have to be one or the other.
Yeah, and then I'll be like, too good for this world. And then and people will come in and they'll see my music playlist I want at my funeral and like a sketch of my gravestone.
Liz had this all planned out. That sounds helpful for them.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, they might not want to do it, and there'll be nothing I can do because I'll be dead. But
I guess.
yeah, I like putting thought into these things. I swear it's not a cry for help. It's just fun.
They already kind of know the kind of people we are.
Yeah, that's
though,
true.
So they probably
I would
understand.
expect. So we're going to talk today about episode 14,
On Amazon Prime.
season 1, episode 14.
Jam-packed with mysteries. Listen, last week we were complaining because there wasn't enough original mystery.
Now we're going to complain because there's too damn much mysteries. This has 6 mysteries in
so
it,
many mysteries.
which means they just zip through these mysteries.
Oh my god.
Boom, 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 boom. And I realize this is not the way this originally aired. They found 6 short segments and put them together to form an hour. They podge them together, but
This is also kind
Poor
of
choice.
almost like an episode of America's Most Wanted because most of them are wanted.
yeah, because those are the short ones usually. I don't think we're going to be rating this very high on mysteriousness because
They're not super mysterious,
They're
but I
not
know
super
we'll be
mysterious.
rating it very high for reenactments because my
there's some
god,
quality reenactments.
this is one of the best episodes as far as reenactments that I've seen so
This
far.
is just all over. It is a little of everything.
Should we jump right in?
Sure. Tell me about the first mystery, the missing person mystery.
Yes. So first of all, Robert Stack opens the segment by walking through a carousel
Yeah, like a spooky.
at night.
Yeah,
And he's
merry-go-round.
wearing- He's wearing the khaki trench coat. I wrote down that this is why Unsolved Mysteries still strikes terror in children of the 80s and 90s. This was
There
really
is
creepy.
Something about a haunted amusement park or a haunted
Yeah.
fair that is a certain perfect type of creepy where it's you can't really put your finger on why a carousel at night is creepy.
With Robert Stack in his trench coat walking through in his voice.
But it
In the
is.
context of Unsolved Mysteries, it was very haunting.
I hope that listeners to the show have read Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. If you're into a spooky carousel,
Yeah.
throw your copy of The Night Circus away. That book is trash garbage. It's horrible. And
Everyone tells me how good of an audiobook that is. I haven't listened yet.
I
You
don't know.
think it's good?
I didn't listen to the audiobook.
Oh, okay.
I read the goddamn book made out of trees. And
Old fashioned Liz is.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of true. Oh, no. It's about nothing. It's
Well,
just about
It's a young adult, or is it a children's book?
it's
actually?
it's a young adult. I mean, fucking everything is at this point. It's a young adult book. And it's just different little gothy, steampunky settings and nothing really. It's just people wearing bowler hats and
Okay.
hanging out in striped circus tents and
Oh, all right.
well, there you go. If you love the Night Circus, you don't like this show anymore. But
Add that to the list of people
add that
we've
to the
offended.
list. Sorry, it's personally not my taste. But I do think you should check out Wicked This Way Comes for spooky carousels. Obviously, Robert Stack loves them.
Yep. Check out this episode.
And he
too.
looks good by them.
I mean, it set the stage quite well. So he tells us that Jeremy Bright was a popular sports-loving boy. He looked forward to
The only type of boys we care about. Sorry, go on.
Now we've also alienated everyone who likes sports. Well, we did that already.
I'm sure we do that.
They're long gone.
Every episode. By the way, I'm super mad the Super Bowl is coming to Minnesota.
Well, everyone in Minnesota is.
Yeah.
So he looked forward to beginning high school in the fall. You then get Jeremy's mom, Diane, talking about how lovable he was and how much he loved to play any and all sports. So, again, he loved sports, so he was a great kid. I don't know. He seemed like he was a great kid, but...
I mean, really, what can you say about an 8th grade boy?
He loves sports.
He loves sports.
And going to the county fair.
Yeah.
Next, we cut to shots of the Coos County Fair. Sketchy-looking carnival rides and a lot of middle America 80s fashion is what I wrote down.
Yeah, I really wanted to go there. It's like, I mean, I love a fair anyway.
It looked very dusty and...
But if I could go to a fair in the 80s...
Oh,
man. Time travel now, please.
So the fair was Jeremy and his best friend Johnny's favorite event of the year. It didn't really seem like a whole lot went on in this town, so the fair was like it. You looked forward to it all year long. Normally, Jeremy lived 100 miles away in Grants Pass, where his mother worked. But during the week of the fair, he and his sister stayed with their father, Ole, in Myrtle Point. On Friday, August 15th, Ole went, or Ollie, I'm not really sure, to work before dawn and did not see Jeremy leave for the fair. But a number of people say that they saw Jeremy and Johnny at the fair that day. Around 4:45 that afternoon, Jeremy placed a long-distance phone call to his mother. According to Robert Stack, Jeremy told his mother that he was having a terrific time at the fair. She said that she would be back.
Sounds like something an 8th grade boy would say. Gee whiz, Mom, I'm having a terrific time at the fair.
That really is what he said at the reenactment. His mom said that she would be back in Myrtle Point in 2 days to pick him up. 5 hours later, at 9:40 p.m., Jeremy went to a local tavern, which was owned by his grandmother, to meet his stepfather, who was now home from work. Jeremy asked to borrow some money, and that is the last anyone ever saw of him.
Also, I loved that tavern.
Oh, yeah.
Can I go to that tavern?
It looked very nice. It was a very, little towny bar. I don't know. It
Yeah,
was really cute. It reminded me
cute.
of the little college town I went to. 2 days later, Diane arrived in Myrtle Point to meet Jeremy, but he never showed up. At Ollie's house, Diane found Jeremy's house keys for their Grants Pass apartment, his wallet, and his new watch. She knew that Jeremy wouldn't have left without these things, so she figured he was nearby. But when Jeremy did not show up that night, she contacted the police. And then we get the most ridiculous line I have ever heard in the show. Robert Stack says, at first the police believed that her son had succumbed to the romantic lure of the carnival and had run away. And then,
First of all, the carnival's still there.
And the carnival does not look that great.
If the carnival had left town, yeah, okay, maybe he went with the carnies.
Yeah, they were speculating that he was hiding out, waiting for the carnival to pack up and leave
Why
so
would
that he
do
could go
that
with them.
without his cool digital watch that he just got? The detail of that blue Velcro-y wallet that I just remembered, every kid had a wallet like that. Why would he run off without that? That doesn't make any sense.
No, and he would
want his $7 or whatever was in there.
Exactly. And his mom also said that he was so excited to tell her about this watch he got at the fair, so he wouldn't have just left that behind. Also, this was the lamest fair you've ever seen in your life. If it looked anything like the reenactment, it was dusty and rickety and probably had 2 creepy carnies and a clown.
I like that they didn't want to say carnies, so there was a part where the cop went with the fair
People.
Because he was trying to be polite about it, but also speculating essentially that they would just let a 12-year-old boy
Just run
off with them.
This isn't a thing that actually happens. I don't know. It was weird. So now we get Sergeant Steve Dalton, who I wrote should have definitely not shaved off his mustache.
You could tell he did.
Yeah, you did.
Do you think he did that because he was going to be on TV?
I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't like to have the mustache. You could see the shadow of a large mustache.
Yeah. There was mustache stubble.
Yeah.
But there was no mustache.
I know.
So, obviously, he doesn't win.
No, clearly. He tells us that they thoroughly explored the idea that Jeremy was hiding out, waiting to run away with the, quote, fair people. Yeah, he wasn't.
I swear, whenever a child goes missing, can they have me and Samantha show up for just some, common sense
Here's the thing about missing children. Even if they're running away, we still need to find them.
Yeah, let's fucking look for
even
them.
if he was hiding out to run off with some fair people,
which makes
we still gotta go
sense.
find them. They're still in danger.
How about stop him from doing that? I don't know. Maybe they were trying to, but
it kind of did look like they were looking for him. They were just
entertaining
the idea.
It's not that big of a fair. They could have looked inside every ride and haunted house and whatever. Every booth.
That thing just, it drives me crazy. And we still hear it when kids go missing. Oh, they might have just ran away. Well, listen, they're still vulnerable. They're still on the street. We still got to find them.
Yeah, Samantha and I recently got into an argument with someone about this, about wasting police resources to be looking for children every time they run away. And we were kind of like, that's what I want police resources to be used for. You wouldn't think someone would argue in favor of not looking for children, but
people do.
People do, as we learn.
We witnessed it on the internet. We just got to stop engaging people online.
Sometimes it's hard when they have really dumb opinions like that.
Yeah, anyway, the police finally decided that Jeremy was not the type of kid who would have struck out on his own.
Also,
his mom probably could have told him that.
Grade.
Oh my God, yeah. And also,
what was he gonna go do on his own?
Also, like, his parents could have told him that. Like, this is.
I'm just like picturing the kid from the reenactment like driving a semi across the country. Like, what did they think he was gonna go do?
With their little cutoff jean shorts?
Yeah. He didn't seem like he would go prospecting. Like, what? What was he gonna go do on his own?
I'm gonna run away with the circus. That's what kids do, Liz. Youths. That's what they do.
Dangerous youths with their Velcro. This kid.
Their Velcro tennis shoes and their white socks.
I know.
The kids in the reenactment were really cute and not the kind of kids that run off with circuses anyway.
Because those children don't exist. No kids are that kind of kids.
True. And this wasn't even the circus. This was a rickety old county fair.
Yeah, this was his favorite part of the year. He wouldn't have left.
I think that's why they were speculating that he might have left with them, because it was his favorite thing.
Fair was still there.
I know. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense.
So on Sunday, the fair folded up and left town. Myrtle Point went back to normal, but within days, Robert Stack tells us that ominous rumors began to surface surrounding Jeremy's disappearance.
These rumors are so scattershot. They have nothing to do with each other.
No, but they make for excellent reenactments.
Very good reenactments.
Oh my God.
All right. Take us through the theories, Samantha.
Robert Stack goes on to tell us that in Myrtle Point, the week of the fair was the time for partying, which, if parties were anything like the reenactment, they were super duper lame. It was just people sitting on the floor watching TV. And they were acting like this was a wild party.
It's exactly the type of party you would expect a bunch of 8th graders to throw.
Yeah.
They had 1 6-pack of beer for 30 people and a television. What more do you, like, maybe
That's a party.
Half a bag of Skittles and you're all good.
According to one rumor, Jeremy attended one of these parties, and at this party, he was offered a beer laced with a powerful illegal drug.
Why did someone roofie Jeremy?
I don't think anyone roofied him. But according to this hilarious reenactment, 2 shady-looking characters are hanging out in a little kitchen acting like they are too cool for school, and they are clearly much older than Jeremy. The reenactment has, like, middle-aged men, essentially.
Yeah, this party for kids, basically.
It's very strange. One of them pours a mysterious substance into a beer, and when Jeremy comes in to go through the fridge, he says, "Hey, looking for a beer? Well, here's one right here." And they both chuckle as Jeremy walks off with it.
It kind of looked like he poured a pixie stick into that beer.
It really did.
This
is Unsolved Mysteries' idea of a dangerous illegal drug.
Pixie stick. That's way too much sugar, Jeremy.
Anyway, and who's just giving out beers laced with drugs to random people?
This is the thing. When I was like a little kid, they would have like PSAs or very special episodes of G.I. Joe that would tell you that drug dealers were just going to be around everywhere, giving you free drugs to get you addicted. You know what it turns out? Drugs cost money.
Yeah, they don't just give them
like
away.
A lot of money
to kids.
Because people want them. So they sell them. They don't actually have to like trick you. That's what I found out as I got older, and no one was constantly offering me free, expensive drugs. They're actually for sale. So I don't think people would pour drugs into Jeremy's beer and then give it to him without him knowing it was in there just for what, like a hoot?
But Sergeant Steve says that he identified 2 or 3 witnesses to this overdose theory and that Jeremy was reported to have had a heart murmur. So a stimulant could have caused him to have a medical episode.
Dun, 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 dun.
And then an anonymous source told the police a different story. Robert Stack says that 3 local toughs showed up to harass Jeremy and his friends while they played in a swimming hole.
This is the most ridiculous reenactment I've ever seen.
These quote-unquote toughs They were all wearing short cutoff jean shorts.
By modern standards,
extremely short.
very short.
One guy had a very 80s orange t-shirt. The other two are wearing t-shirts with cut-off sleeves, but one of them, like, not only cut off the sleeves of his shirt, but he's also taken off, like, both sides, from the middle of his shoulder down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's just like a front flap and a back flap.
He wanted you to see his side boob. That was his...
It's ridiculous.
That was his nip slip tank top.
And they all have curly mullets.
Yeah, they're toughs, all right. I'm scared just thinking about them.
Robert Stack said that things went terribly wrong. Yeah, they're on the shore of this little swimming hole, and there's at least 10 people there. In the reenactment, you see a handful of innocent-looking kids squinting up at these toughs from the water. One of the girls said, "Is that a gun?" And the middle guy with the white short shorts and the orange t-shirt is like, "What's this? It's just a toy." And then our genius sergeant, Steve, tells us that the anonymous jailhouse snitch, by the way, told them that some guys had been target practicing by shooting indiscriminately into the water where people were swimming.
Yep.
So
That's how target practice works.
yeah, in the reenactment, the guy with the gun fires one shot, and then the camera pans to the actor who plays Jeremy, who literally just is standing there, like squinting, like he can't quite see.
Yeah,
At this guy,
I'm
or he
guessing
doesn't-
the sun was in all of their faces.
They literally found the worst actors for this particular episode.
Maybe they were the real kids, and that's why they were so bad, except for Jeremy.
I don't know. And then you pan, the camera pans back to the toughs who shoot another bullet off, and then it goes back to the guy who played Jeremy, and he's like flailing in the water, and there's fake blood. It looks ridiculous.
And then the toughs are like, "Oh no!"
yeah, they have like their reaction to this was like, "Oh, darn!" And then
that
I'm like,
sucks.
if this is
You just shot a kid.
yeah, if this is what happened, it did not go down anything like what was shown in Unsolved Mysteries.
They
It
were
was
making some joke like, "I bet you could pierce his ear. He'd look good with an earring," and that's why he shot at him.
Yeah, first of all, where did all those people go? Because they go on to say that the toughs then took Jeremy to a cabin where he languished for 2 weeks until he finally died, and then they buried his body to cover up their crime. According to the reenactment, there was like 10 people there. Like, where did those people go?
And also, they're small children. They're not like hardened criminals that aren't going to talk to the cops. Imagine yourself in the 8th grade. You're swimming. Your friend suddenly gets shot.
They pull his body out of the water and drag it off to some cabin in the woods.
Do you think you would just keep that to yourself, or would you run home screaming at the top of your lungs with the other 10 kids you were with?
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't just go, "Well, I guess I'm taking that to my grave." No one will ever know what happened to Jeremy.
Oh my god.
Or why I wake up in the middle of the night screaming.
These theories are ridiculous.
I don't believe any of
No,
them.
this jailhouse snitch, according to the police officer, said that the body would be found within 200 feet from a cabin. The police went and searched the area around this cabin, and they found nothing.
Also, they listened to that story again, and they went, "That doesn't make any sense."
No. It sounds like the rumor mill in this little town was basically going crazy after Jeremy disappeared.
Sure.
It didn't sound like a place where a lot of crimes are committed. But Jeremy's poor mother says that she had to hear all these rumors and then have nightmares about them. This rumor in particular, where he was shot, his body was dragged out of the water to a cabin in the woods, and he lived for 2 weeks before finally dying, and then he was buried in a shallow grave. That's not what happened, but that's a horrible rumor to hear about your son.
Yeah, she was saying that she really hoped that wasn't the one that was true, because she didn't want to think about him suffering for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's so sad.
It's just terrible.
Unsolved Mysteries seems to really like this idea that someone is wounded or ill and is being like secretly nursed somewhere, and then they don't recover. Has that ever happened?
I don't think so. It's ridiculous.
Some weird situation out of misery, like.
Yeah. And then there's other strange things. Jeremy was last seen on Thursday night, but the following night, a sister of Johnny, who is Jeremy's friend, had a disturbing encounter when she was leaving an apartment around 1 a.m. She says that she was coming down the stairs to the entrance of the building, and when she and the person she was with got to the last stair, they almost ran into one of their neighbor, whom she says was covered in blood. They used her for this reenactment, and you can tell she's not an actress. She walks down, and this guy stumbles in who's covered in blood, and she's like, "Who are you?"
Like, what? What's all this then?
Yeah, what's this blood?
I kind of loved her. I think
hilarious.
I think she should be cast in all kinds of things. She gives a very deadpan.
Yeah. No emotion whatsoever. It was pretty funny.
Why are you covered in blood?
Yeah, zero expression on our face whatsoever. The guy like stumbles past them. I don't know. Apparently another sister of Johnny lived in this apartment, and she said that Jeremy came there a few hours after that, and he was scared, and then no one knows where he went after that. I don't think that was...
Does that make sense?
It makes zero sense.
He came here, he was scared, I didn't know why, I asked no questions, and then he left into the night to never be seen again.
Yeah.
I also liked the reenactment of him being scared was just like a kid tossing and turning in a chair. Could you imagine if a kid came to your house and then was just like,
It looked like he was having a seizure.
Yeah.
It was
and then you're like,
awful.
Oh, Johnny, what's wrong? What seems to be troubling you? I can't talk about it.
Yeah,
I gotta go. And then he just like, what?
It was very
and then
strange.
I told no one until now.
So that's it. They were trying to find Jeremy. Unfortunately, no one ever found him. If you Google this case,
really sad.
It's still unsolved. It is really sad.
I feel so bad for his mom.
I do. She was extremely upset. His whole family. He was really loved and really missed, and I don't know. It's really
just
sad. And this episode is worth watching because the reenactments are hilarious. But I mean, the case is really sad.
Yeah, they're hilarious reenactments of a very sad story.
I know. So.
Which is a parent's worst nightmare. And I remember when I was a kid and my parents constantly being paranoid about us being kidnapped. And me being like, too bad, guys. You have to raise us. Nobody else wants to, right? But you hear stories like this, and then you're like,
it happens.
It does happen.
And it's awful. So that was mine.
Okay.
1 out of 6. You ready to do the next one?
I suppose. This is just like an America's Most Wanted case. They call this an unexplained death, but it's really just a wanted. This is the case of John Lee Martin in Virginia. It goes back to November 4th of 1988. It was 3 a.m. and he was a patrolman for, I don't know, the police department. I'm not sure which department, but anyway, he was a patrolman. He was out doing his route. And started investigating a suspicious car parked behind a health clinic. So he started following it. He pulled it over, and it was immediately fired upon with a .44 caliber pistol.
Another great display of acting.
No, not so much.
One of my only notes in this case is, where did they find these terrible actors?
They really are bad. I wonder if these are people that need some TV appearance in order to get their SAG card. Like, there's this weird catch-22 where you can't be in the Actors Guild unless you've worked as an actor, but no one will hire you unless you have
in the guild.
So I wonder if this was like, all right, look, we'll put you in this Unsolved Mysteries reenactment, and then you can refer to this as your, That's my only assumption because it does not seem like a professional.
Not really.
Or this guy was just, like around delivering coffees and sandwiches, and they were like, hey, want to fake shoot at a cop? It's going to be fun. Yeah, so as he was approaching the vehicle to ask for license and registration, he was shot. He returned fire and struck the vehicle, but was severely injured. The car that shot at him drove away. A nearby patrolman came to check on him when he didn't respond, but he had been mortally wounded. He stayed conscious enough in order to give a description of the vehicle and the suspect before being taken to the hospital. He died from his injuries 3 days later on November 7th. The reenactment of this, where he's like giving the description of who shot him, he's so calm.
Yes.
I wonder if this dude was really like that. Like, he's dying and knows he's dying. He was like, it was a late model, blah, blah, blah. Like,
it sounded like he was reading off a grocery list.
Yeah, he was so cool and collected while dying. Yeah. So the suspect was an unknown Caucasian male with a mustache in his mid-20s that was driving a light brown or tan. Do we act like those are two different colors for cars? Light brown or tan, okay. Isn't light brown tan? Would you really distinguish? If you're, I realize.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I realize if you're talking about like, you're painting a room, maybe you would. This is a car, light brown or tan. Anyway, he couldn't see the license plate because it was in the back window. So when he had called in that he was pulling over a vehicle, he had said, "I can't give you the license plate, but I know the top of it reads Land of Lincoln," which is the motto for the state of Illinois. The car was most likely a model from the late 70s based on its size. This case was solved. On November 5th, 1988, a stolen car was impounded. It had been burned beyond recognition, but it had 3 bullet holes in it. These turned out to be the bullet holes John Martin had fired at the car. So with some this seems like some solid police work. They tracked down this car in Illinois. They tracked it down to 24-year-old David Wayne Mills. And they found some evidence after searching his home that also connected him to the crime. They didn't say what that
gun?
was.
I don't know. Yeah, they didn't say.
I don't know. So he was arrested and charged with John's murder. He claims that he was there when John was shot, but claimed he wasn't the person that shot him. But John's dying declaration, or whatever you want to call it, didn't mention anything about 2 people.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of hard to believe. Some accomplice was questioned, but never charged. And in the end, the jury found that Mills acted alone in the murder, and he was convicted to life plus 15 years in prison. That's really
Seems
it.
like he had it coming. I wrote down that there's a strange lack of mustaches in this segment, considering how many cops are shown.
That's true. You see a lot of cops,
Not many
no mustaches. Even by the time we see the suspect, he doesn't have a mustache, even though he's described as having a mustache initially. He must have shaved it off.
Maybe.
To
hide
and go on the run. I think, they showed some diligence in tracking down this car that was, in a different state and had been burned. But then, of course, they did, because this guy was a cop killer.
Yeah.
So really what's the surprise is that he was taken alive and actually given a trial.
Yep. I did write down that the kids at his funeral was the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
A lot of people came out for his funeral. He was beloved in his community. And they showed some footage of it and his little kids. It was so sad.
Yeah.
He had how many, 4 kids?
He did, I think. And his wife seemed really nice. And
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a guy doing patrol. And I didn't fully understand what the health clinic he was at was.
I'm not really
and
sure.
why they couldn't assist him after he got shot. Like, he had
Was it closed? In the reenactment, it was nighttime.
That's true.
So maybe there wasn't anyone there.
But they're like, oh, we had to drive all this way to the hospital. And I was like, yeah, except that you're at a health clinic. There's not even a nurse practitioner there, but apparently not.
Yeah, maybe it was nighttime. I'm not really sure.
So when David Mills is arrested, he is wearing a pretty great Canadian tuxedo. He has a full-on mullet.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, that guy is going to get sentenced to life, and he does.
Yep.
There's nothing to this case at all.
Not really. Should we do the next one?
Yeah, just move on.
The next one is a missing heir, which is actually kind of interesting. Usually I'm not about these, but...
Does this one have your favorite mustache in it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, yeah!
This guy, this is the biggest mustache I've ever seen. Not only does the actual man have a huge mustache, because you see his photo, but the guy who they got to play him in the reenactment, massive mustache.
The reenactment is my favorite mustache.
Oh my God.
You see it both bushy and huge, but then you see it when he's having a night out, you see it wax.
And it's got the points that stick out.
Yeah, so you see it in 2 different forms, which I don't know that we've ever seen.
It's a work of art, this mustache.
It's a clear winner. So tell me about these missing heirs and their fortune.
So this guy, Dan Willens, was a mysterious Canadian prospector who spent his life searching for gold. That's what Robert Stack said about him. Some say his fortune may be as much as $3 million and that his heirs may be somewhere in the United States.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Are we a long-lost Willens?
That's the whole problem with these missing heir segments is the whole time I'm just like, and give that money to me. I'm not even paying attention. I'm just going... But no one's using that money.
$3 million.
No one's using it. I might as well have it.
Can we make a capybara ranch with this money? Yes. You have 3 capybara hot tubs.
Yeah, $1 million each.
So we get some awesome vintage video footage of men piling onto trains overlaid with podunk fiddle music.
These actors seem like they're having the time of their lives.
Yes. Well, they're going to strike it rich in the gold lands of Canada.
They just seem to be having a lot of fun pretending it's the old times and
they were
playing poker and wearing ridiculous outfits. They got really into it. These actors committed.
Yeah. Robert Stack tells us that Dan Willens was one of thousands of men reporting to Canada wanting to strike it rich. He tells us that between treks into the wilderness, they settled in rough mining towns like Haileybury and Ontario. Apparently, Ontario used to be a rough mining town.
Sure, okay. I mean, they probably all were at some point.
I guess maybe.
Or fur trap places.
Sure. Fur trap places.
Fur trap places. You can tell I know a lot about Canada.
Sure.
Fur trap places.
Dan Willens was well known by the age of 25, and I wrote down probably because of his mustache alone. The thing was humongous.
He was well known, particularly by mustache appreciators.
You could see his mustache coming from miles. They're like, there's Dan.
He's a mysterious prospector. Look at him come.
Robert Stack says that thrown together by fate and greed, these rough prospectors spent their nights playing poker and their days hoping to find that one strike that would make their fortune.
Uh-huh.
Liz is not impressed by this.
That's not how I want to spend my life, but, kudos to the prospectors.
However, Dan Willens' friends didn't know him very well. He was very private. They interviewed some of his friends in like modern day. They're all wearing very nice suits.
Yeah, they've given that life up.
They have. They did not look like rough and tumble prospectors.
They sold out hard.
One guy tells Unsolved Mysteries that he never talked about himself or his past, so they didn't really know much about him. Another guy said that Dan was a gentleman's gentleman. He was always well dressed, and that from his walk and his stance, I would take him for a military man.
But I never asked him about it.
No.
Because I don't care about my friends.
Also, I have no idea what about someo's walk or stance would tell you that they're a military man.
He had great
that
posture.
guy stands like a military man. What does that mean?
I think you get yelled at if you don't,
Is that a wide
stand up straight.
A wide stance or like a
I
is that like a man spreading wide?
No. I think he was just,
straight and
very, proper.
Maybe he just had confidence. Only military guys can have confidence?
No, but I think it is a particularly stiff way of standing and walking.
Okay. Liz you seem to understand the military stance.
I think I get what this guy's going at, yeah.
Okay.
I can
I'm
picture
still
it
confused,
in my mind.
But Liz has got it. So maybe it is a thing. And
Yeah, I think it's a thing.
Okay.
If you know someone in the military that has
send us a picture of them doing their military stance.
A very good walk and a very good stance. Yeah, I get it.
Sure, okay.
That's one of the things that made sense about this segment.
I'm clearly hung up on it, but Dan had a partner named Bill Koshner. One day, some guy showed up and pulled out a map telling Dan and Bill that there might be gold 850 miles to the west. So they were like, all right, let's go. And they journeyed.
No, this was literally a quote. One of them said, I think we should go there.
I mean, that's what their job is. Like, of course we should go there.
I think we should go there.
But they're not going to be like, nah, I don't really feel like prospecting today.
Gold? Who cares?
So they journeyed for more than a month through the harsh Canadian outback. And then for the next year, the pair staked claims around Red Lake, where their hard work eventually sprouted one of Canada's most profitable gold mines, and with it, the community of Red Lake. The pair's gold mine produced over $45 million in gold, which Robert Stack tells us would be worth $1 billion in today's money.
Whoa!
I know. According to Robert Stack, running a lucrative mining company didn't interest Dan, whose real love was panning for gold. I mean, whose isn't?
He didn't want business. He just wanted to be in the land.
I guess.
In beautiful Canada, looking for tiny golden specks.
The reenactments did show some pretty beautiful locales.
It's true. I don't know where they filmed that stuff, but it looked nice.
Winter forest.
Yeah.
And they're by a lake. I don't know. It was really pretty. Dan continued his solo prospecting, but Robert Stack tells us that there was another side to Dan, who led a double life as a gentleman of culture and breeding.
I don't know if this is a double life. It's like
I thought the same thing.
Sometimes he would bathe and go into town.
And have dinner. This guy is fucking rich. Of course he does. He's a mysterious, successful, rich prospector with a great mustache. That's not a double life. That's just what he likes to do.
It's like sometimes he would actually sit down and eat with a fork. What a scam artist. It's like, well, maybe he wanted to wine and dine some ladies every once in a while. I don't think that's really that impressive.
This is word for word what Robert Stack says next. Every autumn, he would take over the entire floor of the elegant King Edward Hotel in Toronto. He would wax his mustache and entertain his friends with lavish amounts of champagne.
His friends that knew nothing about him. He's like a Canadian Gatsby.
He really was. Yeah. The reenactment in particular for this whining and dining is so
Well, plus you get to see the
fucking
waxed
funny.
mustache.
It's
So
a beautiful sight.
yeah.
I wrote in all capital letters, why is this a double life? He's rich. I don't understand.
I agree. That's not a double life.
I don't get it. Anyway, one day Dan disappeared, telling Bill that he was going to go to his cabin. But when he didn't turn up for a while, Bill went to the cabin and found all of Dan's stuff, but no Dan.
Uh-oh.
There are lots of stories about how he might have died in the woods, or he was killed after cheating at poker and someone threw his body down a well. But
They said that he might have thrown his body down an abandoned mine shaft. And I wrote, wow, so specific. Like, what kind of thing? I mean, I guess they were miners, but I don't know.
I don't know. This is also just a really harsh place. Like, he could have...
Yeah, no one
got
was like,
hypothermia
maybe
in the
he
woods.
went to his cabin and his canoe capsized.
Yeah, or he got eaten by a bear or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he froze to death.
But I think he was kind of the thing where it was mysterious and exciting to have.
Maybe he overdosed on mustache wax. Is that a thing?
It leached into his skin.
Who knows what they were putting in it back
Ooh,
then?
no, it's kerosene probably. No, it would have just gone up at the table at dinner.
Does this podcast make any sense?
None
No.
at all. Anyway, they're trying to find him because he has all this money. They describe what they know about him. He appeared to be from England. He was skilled as a horseman and at cards. He never married. And one prospector believes that he may have had a sister in England.
That's
Not a lot to go off of.
not even a belief. He might have had a sibling somewhere else. Oh, okay. Thank you. Very helpful.
His unclaimed estate was valued in 1936 at $71,000. When Robert Stack was reporting on this, the money was worth nearly $100,000. However, we know that Dan owned half the shares in the mine he co-owned with Bill, and that Bill bought back most of those shares 7 years after Dan vanished. It's not clear to me how he bought them when Dan was gone, but he somehow bought them from someone.
Are we business experts? No.
Clearly not. They alone would have been worth $850,000 back in 1943. 45 years later, they would be worth much more. But no one can locate this money, so I'm not even really sure why they brought it up.
Money. Money.
There was a lot of money.
Impressive.
Yeah. Not only did he have $100,000, but he may have had $3 million if we knew where it was.
The perfect amount to build a capybara ranch.
How
Coincidence? Yes.
A guy in Toronto whose job it is to locate missing heirs believes that Dan Willens was not his real name. He tells Unsolved Mysteries that they have reason to believe that his real name was Dalton Thomas Willens, and that he very helpfully says they think there are heirs either in Britain or the U.S. or somewhere around the world.
Oh. And not the moon, then.
No.
We've ruled out the moon.
And probably under the ocean.
That's good. Not mer people. Okay.
Well, who knows? I
Who
don't know.
knows?
Maybe he swam to Canada. So within days of the broadcast, Davy Willens, a New York businessman, called the telecenter claiming that he might be an heir. Dan, or Dalton, was apparently his cousin, so they think. There were family stories of an unknown cousin that they had who lived in the Canadian outback, but that's all anyone ever knew about him. They did have some photos, but that was it. It was pretty much just family lore. They used photos to determine that there seemed like there was a relation, but frankly, they would have needed DNA to prove it. So, and this guy had disappeared years before.
Yeah.
So
They were acting like there was this really strong family resemblance in those photos. I didn't see it. Did you?
No. They show like 4 photos, all from Davy's family, and then one of Dan Willens, and they were like, look how close. This Davy guy also went to Canada to talk to one of Dan's friends from when he was mining, and he showed them photos, and the guy was like astonished by the resemblance. So maybe I don't know.
That seems like you would see that if you want to see that.
I don't really know why they were even bothering to look for heirs if they knew they didn't have any DNA from Dan to prove it.
Yeah, they're like looking for heirs to taunt them.
Yeah,
you can't actually prove this money's
I'm
yours.
pretty sure no one ever got the money. I tried to Google it to find out, and there was articles about it. Like this Davy guy, he was trying to, I don't know, negotiate with the Canadian government. I think there might have been lawyers involved, but nothing ever said that he got the money. So it didn't really seem like he needed the money. And anyway, in Unsolved Mysteries, they interviewed him, and he's like, I just want a Willens to get this money, even if it's not me. But I don't know if anyone ever did. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll post some mustache pics on Instagram from this segment because they're fantastic. But that's all I have for that one.
It's really more a story of mustaches than missing heirs, I would say.
I would say so.
Let's move on to, I've already forgotten how to say this name. Leo.
I don't know either.
Roy?
Sure, we'll go with that.
We'll just call him Leo.
Sure.
This is, once again, this is like an America's Most Wanted thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was missing since 1979. So this is a slightly older case than we're usually talking about. He was a businessman who was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted for murder, attempted murder, extortion, racketeering, fraud, and arson. So, all crimes. Basically all crimes. He was a fugitive on the run from the law that had not been seen since April of 1979. Way back in March 19th, 1975, a bodyguard named Chuck, was murdered in his home in Richmond, Virginia. His body was placed in a trunk, driven to the Rappahannock River,
and disposed of in the most redneck way to dispose of a body ever.
Weighed down with the bumper of a 57 Chevrolet and thrown off the side of a boat.
I'm sorry. It's sad that he died, but
I mean,
a little bit redneck to dispose of your body by tying it to a bumper of a Chevy.
That's one way to go. I should also mention that Leo was a volunteer softball umpire, which they kept bringing up.
If you want to watch some reenactments that have some great 80s dad softball league uniforms,
yes.
This is the one for you.
Yes. Poor old Chuck, thrown off the side of a boat. This information was based on police informants, as Chuck's body has never been found. Authorities believe Leo was responsible for this contract killing.
You're kind of reading it like it's a America's Most Wanted. I like it.
Well, this is just like such a straightforward case.
This one, there's not a whole lot of mystery here.
During this time, Leo was also a softball coach, a loving husband and father. Okay, maybe he was. Sure. We've learned people are complicated. We've learned you can be a murderer that also has a cat named Snowball. We've learned that you can wash a dish and still be a bad dude. People
learn a lot in this show.
Complex, right? He could be a horrible murderer and potentially also a loving father and husband.
And a softball league coach.
And really passionate about softball.
People are like onions. They got layers.
But also willing to tie someone to a 57 Chevrolet bumper and just throw him in the water. He was also a successful business owner known to be fiercely competitive.
If by fiercely competitive you mean sending people to murder your enemies.
Yeah, literally murdering random people so that your restaurant does better.
Yeah.
That's the most ridiculous business rivalry I've ever heard of. So that's one thing that he was allegedly accused of doing, is that he would try to drive out other businesses by sending, quote unquote, this is from Unsolved Wiki, thugs to terrorize the patrons. By terrorize, 2 men in the reenactment walked in with guns and literally just shot random people in a bar.
Yeah.
To drive that business out of it. There had to be a better way.
Just have a better product. Have a better service.
Or go into that restaurant and release a bunch of rats. I don't know. That came to my mind because it's in every single cartoon. But there has to be a better way to drive someone out of business than literally shooting random people you do not even have a beef with who just happen to be in the bar.
Yeah, not okay.
Ridiculous. Leo. Ridiculous. I don't like this at all, you loving husband and father.
Like, you're scolding him like a mom.
Leo.
It's not okay.
Not okay. So they have learned that Leo and his men offered... Oh, yeah, also... If you weren't already convinced that Leo wanted for murder, attempted murder, extortion, racketeering, arson, and fraud was a horrible person, the authorities learned that he often targeted vulnerable groups, such as the local gay community, as his victims of scams and extortions.
Yeah,
because they were less likely to go to the police because they didn't want people to know they were gay. So, Leo, you are the worst.
Leo's a dirtbag.
We hate you. You kind of look like Vincent D'Onofrio, if you would like a picture in your mind of who you are hating right now.
That's him.
Picture a less attractive Vincent D'Onofrio. That'll give you in the right ballpark.
I also loved the reenactment of when they went and got the hitman.
Yes.
Where he's wearing a wife beater at a ping.
This guy's playing pinball. This was in the October of 1977. He just walks up to a guy playing pinball and is like, "Will you kill this other restaurateur?"
And he's immediately like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
He just is like, "Yeah, I'll do it."
There's no negotiation whatsoever.
Like, how much money is involved? When? Where? Like, what
just,
weapon?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll do it. Just let me play pinball first. But it backfired, and the authorities found Leo hiding outside this guy's home.
The reenactment for them finding him was actually pretty good. There was a great follow shot of him running down the fire escape, and then you got like the flashing lights and the sirens and the cops coming out. Put your hands up. Like it was actually a pretty good reenactment.
Yeah, actually, it was well done.
Yeah.
It looked like something from like an actual cop show.
It was no local toughs at a watering hole shooting indiscriminately into the water.
Well, few things could match that reenactment. So he tried to hire this hitman who might have just been a random dude. I'm not sure that he was a professional hitman because
clearly he was not.
It didn't go
He
well.
didn't seem like he did a very good
and
job.
he immediately confessed to the police and said that Leo was the guy that hired him. So they indicted Leo on various charges, but he fled before he could be arrested. So he was on the FBI fugitive roll call for a while. They reported that there was 165 sightings of him.
Somehow they couldn't get him.
The East Coast, in Brazil, and in the Middle East. 165 times. Some of those were probably false. Some of those were probably just actually Vincent
Even
D'Onofrio.
if half of them were false, though. Like, that's still a lie.
Yeah, I don't know that the FBI did a really great job of tracking him down because they didn't find him until he was already dead. While on the run, all the way in June 16th, 1991, he had a massive stroke as a result of diabetes in San Diego. He'd been living under the name William Franklin Biddle. The hospital received an anonymous phone call saying, "Hey, that guy's not actually Biddle." And the FBI was brought in, and yeah, it turned out it was Leo. Well, so they couldn't even bother to find him until he was literally dead, lying in a hospital.
I mean...
After 165 sightings. Yeah, I don't...
That's about... I mean, that's kind of it.
He was 56 when he died. He'd been a fugitive since 79. And there had at one time been a reward for $25,000, but guess what? Those 165 people that called in, you don't get that money. Yeah, that's really it. You get a funny reenactment and a quality reenactment. But again, because there's so many mysteries, this is so short.
Yeah, this one was really short.
I feel like he had a lot of crimes, and we barely covered them.
Yeah, they just kind of listed them off, and then they talked about the worst ones.
It's like, look, he has a restaurant, but also is using it to... He's so competitive about his restaurant that it's like compelling him to commit crimes.
He was just like a mobster. They tried to make it seem like he was
yeah.
really concerned about the success of his restaurant. He was just using his restaurant to do
It's just
illegal
a front.
activities.
Yeah. But they're like, his need for success drove him into the wild world of racketeering.
Fraud, arson, murder,
Yeah.
robbery, kidnapping.
No, he was going to do those things anyway, but he needed some source of income to tell the IRS,
Yeah, basically.
which was his restaurant. But then also he killed other people at restaurants, which I assume were also involved in crime in some way.
I mean... Yeah.
I'm guessing he didn't literally kill completely innocent people trying to close down a pizza place or whatever they were acting like happened.
I don't know.
I'm assuming that other owner was also involved in crime, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Because this segment is so short.
We didn't get a ton of information.
No. So that was the case of Leo somebody.
All right, well, we got another one. This is also a wanted. It's a wanted, but it's kind of a missing person, too. They call it a wanted, but...
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
we are
both.
looking for someone, but...
It's both.
So we open this segment with Robert Stack in a school, which is a little strange to me for some reason.
Because it involves kids.
Yeah, it was just a weird juxtaposition of, like, Robert Stack and all these little preschoolers coloring in the background when he's about to tell us about something awful.
That is really weird when you point it out, actually.
It's a little strange.
All those children are looking up like, what? No! They're scarred for
If
life
you were
now.
one of those kids, though, call us.
Please, perhaps it's you, podcast@gmail.com. We want to know. We want to know. We want to know. We want to know.
On November 19th, 1988, a 9-year-old girl named Michelle Garchett and her best friend were given $5 by her friend's father to spend at a local market in Hayward, California, which was a suburb of Oakland. The two girls went to the market on their scooters.
Now prepare yourself to be really sad.
Yeah. First of all, the girls in this reenactment are so cute. They look like something straight out of Full House. They've got
Side ponytails.
side scrunchy ponytails, acid wash jeans that are rolled up at the bottom, and
This is exactly how I dressed as a child.
they're two big t-shirts tucked into their acid wash jeans.
Yep.
And they're riding these little scooters. They're so cute.
They were missing some puff paint cats on those shirts because that's really what I liked.
It was about the only thing they were missing.
I really liked a puff paint cat on my t-shirt at this time, which
Who didn't?
any vacation photo of me from my childhood, I'm standing in front of something beautiful wearing a t-shirt with a puff paint cat on it.
Everything I owned had puff paint on it in some form or another.
Look, it was just magic. It was
It was.
pure, beautiful. It was paint.
It just dried and it was just.
puffed.
I mean, what's
that
better
and
than
a
that?
side ponytail scrunchie and a scooter, and you've got $5 to spend at the market.
This is a great day to be a kid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Michaela's house was only 4 blocks from the market, but her parents insisted that she go with a friend. So her parents seemed to, they did the buddy system.
Yeah.
Michaela's father said that she would go often to this market, and she would always ask her friend to go with her, and they would take their scooters.
Which is just adorable, and I want to give them both a hug.
I know, it's super cute. Michaela's mother says that when they came out of the store, Michaela's scooter was gone. The girls found it laying in the parking lot behind a car. When Michaela went to get it, a man jumped out of the car, grabbed her from behind, and threw her into the back seat, speeding away.
This is an absolute fucking nightmare.
Then Michaela's friend was super smart and brave. She ran into the store and immediately told the adults that her friend had been kidnapped, and then the people at the store called the police. Detective Ken Gross is interviewed for the show and says that this case is unique because they do have a description of the suspect and a description of the car because there's a witness. So the police...
Except the witness is like 7.
I know, this poor girl, she looked through a bunch of mugshots that they provided her, but she couldn't identify any of them as the abductor. She did, however, help the police create a sketch of the suspect, and they show the sketch on the show. It's a much better sketch than some of the ones we've seen, a la Paul Bunyan.
I wrote down best sketch we've seen yet using child as a witness. But this is actually, it looks like a person.
It looks like an actual person.
But it's actually like it has identifiable features.
Yeah,
it's not just like they knew the eyeballs are the same size. They not only did they make it look like a human, it looks like an identifiable, recognizable human.
Yeah, so it was a young man with shoulder-length, shaggy blonde hair and a pockmarked complexion, and yet a very distinct kind of oval-looking face.
Yeah.
You'd know this guy if you saw him walking down the street.
This girl was a great witness.
She was.
She went and she told the authorities immediately to help her friend. She didn't just like run home because she was scared, which I could totally see her doing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it helps the police look at mug shots, which must have been terrifying.
I know.
And then helps them create this sketch.
Yeah, she was really brave, and I feel so bad for her. I'm sure she suffered some long-term effects from seeing her friend be abducted.
I know, it's terrifying.
And then, unfortunately, there's no updates. That's all there is from the Unsolved Mysteries. The episode just ends. I Googled it, and Michaela's mom runs a blog called Dear Michaela, which I don't recommend reading unless you like falling into a pit of black depression.
This case already is like a punch to the gut.
Bad. In 2012, some guy in prison said that who was part of a murderous duo called the Speed Freaks claimed that his partner was responsible for Michaela's death. He told police that he'd lead them to some of the bodies of the people they killed. The articles I read were not clear if Michaela's body was one of them, but there were no follow-up articles, and this partner who he claimed was the killer killed himself years before he even said this.
Ugh.
Yeah, I didn't find anything else, so I'm assuming that went nowhere. There's literally nothing.
That's awful.
Don't read this blog unless you need a good cry. But
I already know I can't handle
her mother does say that she's accepted the fact that Michaela's gone, and yeah, it's just
that's a worst nightmare.
It's really sad. It reminded me a lot of the Jacob Wetterling case from Minnesota because these were two kids who were just going to the corner store with some money to probably, I don't know, buy a video
away
on their scooters, and
they went
one of
together.
them gets taken. And their parents knew that it was safety in numbers. You did the buddy system, and they go to the same market they always go to.
She didn't get into someone's car, or she was just
snatched.
accept candy or whatever.
Yeah.
She
was lured with her bike and then snatched.
Yeah, it's awful.
Extremely, extremely sad.
Yeah, and I love the name Michaela too.
I know. And these girls in the reenactment are so stinking cute.
So they go from that to an unexplained, which is just like, there's nothing unexplained about this.
Not
if you
really.
want to see reenactments involving some adorable old people,
Yeah.
it's maybe a palate cleanser after we've had 2 missing kids in this.
I
Unsolved
know.
missing kids. It's awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I guess we have this last case. This is the Tatum house. Is it haunted? Probably not. But it's somewhere around Atlanta, Georgia. They didn't want you to know where exactly because they were selling it because it was haunted. So
they didn't want us to go buy it.
Yeah. They didn't want their house to not sell after people saw the exterior on Unsolved Mysteries. So they only showed the interior of the house. But then also the people who live there. So probably pretty easy to figure out, but whatever.
This is pre-internet, though. So
Yeah, true.
it'd take some work to figure it out.
True. The gossip mill would have figured it out, though. So this is Jim and Kay Tatum. They built a new home in a quiet suburb near Atlanta with plans to retire. Then, in January of 1986, 5 months after they moved in, they started experiencing a series of incidents that defied explanation. One night, Kay couldn't sleep, and she sensed a strange presence in the hall outside her bedroom. When she got up to investigate, she caught a glimpse of a man walking past the open door, which, this reenactment, it's literally, somehow they managed to get a guy walking just by a door be hilarious.
I mean, that's something only Unsolved Mysteries can do.
Yeah, it's has a certain je ne sais quoi. Like, why does this look ridiculous? It doesn't look scary at all.
No.
It looks like, honestly, they forgot a guy was in the shot. Like a sound guy or something. It looks like a crew member just like hustling, whoa, like trying to get out of...
we can use this.
They're trying to get out of frame. And it's like, did you ever watch Twin Peaks?
No.
I'm going to include a little Twin Peaks factoid.
Okay.
Which is that, so the villain of Twin Peaks is named Bob, and he's just this really creepy looking dude. That was just a guy that worked in the crew, and his face ended up in the reflection on a mirror. And then David Lynch, being David Lynch, was like, no, leave that in. And then that like reworks the whole story.
See, I did not know that. I should watch Twin Peaks.
It's pretty amazing.
I
but
just haven't gotten around to it.
Anyway, that kind of... I swear this guy is just like hustling past a door, like, oh, I need to get out of frame. And then it was like, no, that was actually the ghost. So Kay told her husband, and her husband basically thought that she was crazy and just dismissed it as her overreactive imagination. And I told Mac, like, if you did that to me, I would be so pissed.
Yeah.
If I thought that I saw something and you were just like, whatever, bitches be crazy.
It's just your your crazy woman brain.
I would be so angry. But so keep that in mind before you dismiss your wife's ghost sighting. I also like
more dating advice from last week.
Oh yeah, I'm
Don't dismiss your lady's ghost sighting. She will divorce your ass.
Very important. That's our most important dating advice yet. I also forgot to mention that Robert Stack is talking about like maybe this is a poltergeist or maybe this is psychokinesis. And they're like, why would it be psychokinesis?
There's no evidence to
These
suggest
people
this
have
is...
never... He was like, it might be caused by them, except that they never had the problem before, and it waited till they were in the house for 5 months.
Obviously psychokinesis.
Obviously psychokinesis.
This is just like Robert Stack's word of the day. He's got a little calendar on his desk. He's like, how can I work that into this
Those
episode?
Were so popular back then. That was his word of the day. That's hilarious. Okay. The other things, okay, these are the other things they hear in the house that they decide are creepy. Drill noises.
That could come from nowhere else.
The drill was unplugged, Samantha. Okay. Coins falling in a bowl. That's also so specific. I don't know that I would recognize the noise. Just the noise of coins falling in a bowl. Her blouse was tugged.
We got some mischievous ghosts, like the haunted as fuck General Wayne Inn.
Yeah. I put, this is the most harmless ghost, and also it was there first. This is the ghost's house, and it's not doing you any harm.
Listen, the ghost lives here. You are just occupying the space.
Yeah, so they bring in a parapsychologist who is a dude with a clearly fake accent. The fakest accent I have ever heard. Couldn't even listen to a word he was saying because I was just laughing at him trying to sound prestigious. This was apparently William Roll.
Is that also a fake name?
It sounds like a fake name.
I have to be called William or no one will take me seriously.
Him being like, oh, there's a ghost did blah. Like,
it sounds like Dracula.
Yeah, well, He did a different stupid fake accent, but it might as well have been Dracula.
Might as well.
Might as well have been Dracula. They had this whole thing about how she would ring a bell and he would come upstairs.
That was hilarious. I watched this segment for the first time with Travis, and I was like, can I just ring a bell to beckon you to
okay, this is my question.
bring me shit when I'm upstairs and you're downstairs?
Oh, is that what the bell was for?
Yeah, she was beckoning him.
It wasn't for sexy time?
I mean, maybe they also used it that way. I don't know.
It's like, ring, 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 come upstairs. And then he would come upstairs.
I think she just did it when she needed a glass of water and didn't want to get out of bed.
Oh, that's amazing.
But also when...
Okay, this is our other dating advice. Let your significant other just ring a bell and then you bring them stuff. Oh, luxury. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, our respective partners are listening to this.
They're
like,
no,
no, get off your ass and get your own shit.
That's insane.
But she literally did have like a little bell with a handle. It was like ding ding.
Yeah, it looked
And
like
he would
angel.
just jump off the couch and run upstairs.
Yeah, he didn't know that she was already asleep. These people's relationship is interesting.
It's strange.
So he kept going upstairs when the bell would ring, but she would already be asleep, or the bell would be in a different room. And he was like, what? What's happening? And then they came up with a secret code, which was from now on that she would ring the bell 3 times. That was the secret code. No one could ever crack it. But
the ghost could not figure it out.
But then the ghost did figure it out, and the bell rang 3
dun,
times,
dun, dun.
and she went upstairs. And this clearly shook this guy to the core.
Oh yeah, he was freaked out.
He was like, that's when I knew there were things that could not be explained. Like, it like shattered his perception of reality that this bell rang 3 times, and she didn't ring it. Which I kind of hope she rang it. It's just tricking him.
I think she was.
But after this, they were like, no, we're selling the house.
Because she was pissed off that he didn't believe her the first time. So.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing about she was like lying in bed and she heard these drill noises and he had been fixing something earlier. And her original thought was, oh, he's teasing me about seeing a ghost. And then she went into the hall and the drill was unplugged.
So this is just 2 people that are fucking with each other.
I kind of think so. I think maybe they got a little bored in retirement.
You know, this is what my relationship's going to be like.
And yeah.
It's just each of us playing jokes and the other one trying to convince them that there's a ghost in the house. And just we both become convinced.
Okay, I can't keep the Gallagher brothers from Oasis separate, but the ones who are always feuding. But a year or so ago, I saw this amazing article about how one of them was always trying to convince the other that there was a ghost. So he would be like, go in his room and like when they were touring or whatever and move a lamp. And then he'd be like, did anybody touch this? And then everybody would go, no, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Just to like convince him that places were haunted.
That's what this couple was doing.
Yes, I think
each other.
so. But then they like she's like comforting him because he's so upset about this ringing bell.
It was kind of cute.
It was super adorable, except that I sort of think that she did it.
Oh, yeah, I kind of do too.
But maybe that brought them closer together.
Maybe it helped their relationship.
Yeah, you guys see it. I wrote down cute old people hug. Also, I swear that I've been in their living room.
In your dreams or what?
I don't know. It just was like so familiar. It's just like an 80s living room, I think, in a way that someone you knew had a wood paneled living room that looked like that. I don't know.
True.
It just was like, have I been to this house?
A deja vu.
Yeah, that's really it. A bell rang and some coins fell in a bowl and a blouse was tugged. Was it ghosts? Probably not. But these people sold their house because of this totally innocuous ghost.
I mean, it sounded kind of fun, but whatever.
Yeah, I would have totally stayed and tried to like get to know this ghost.
Sure.
And not hired this parapsychologist who seemed like a scam artist.
Well, you know, to each their own.
Yeah. Well, let's rate this.
Yes.
6 mystery shit show. So I'm going to call it. 6 mysteries is too many.
That's a lot of mysteries. I forgot about the last mystery. That's how many mysteries were in this one.
I assume you agree. After hearing us babble through 6 different stories, you are going, oh, that was too many.
There's a lot of mysteries.
4 is the sweet spot.
It really is. So, mysteriousness. Sideways? I don't know.
Yeah, it was not that mysterious.
Not
I guess
super.
I want to know if these old people were pranking each other. I want to know what happened to these missing children, because that's sad as fuck. But, yeah, sideways, I guess.
It's also just less mysterious because we're in the future and we know that it was never solved. So, I don't know.
Sideways.
Yeah, I'm sideways.
Also, depressing, thumbs up or sideways? I don't know. Is that a category?
I mean,
how depressing it is?
It's extremely depressing, but I hated how depressing it was. So, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
The reenactments, though, 2 big thumbs up.
Oh yeah,
This episode is fantastic for reenactments.
That is the advantage of getting 6 mysteries. The only one I would say is that there's a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
There's prospectors. There's 80s children riding scooters. There's
murderous
a fair.
mobsters.
There's a murderous mobsters. There's people in
80s
canoes.
dad softball league.
Yeah, there's a old person ringing a bell. There's anything you could possibly want. A shootout with the police. People in a bar getting murdered for no reason.
Yeah, there's a lot in this episode.
It's going everywhere.
There's short shorts. There's
a lot of short
acid
shorts.
wash jeans. There's mullets. Fashion, I'm also giving a thumbs up.
Yeah, if you have an acid wash fetish, which, ew, I hate you, but this episode is for you.
We've got a lot of listeners, I'm sure, with acid washed fetishes.
I don't know. That was the one fashion trend that I was like, it can never come back.
No.
You look back at photos and you're just like, oh, what were we thinking? And then it did. So
I don't know.
someone likes it somewhere.
I guess.
I guess.
Robert Stack's outfits, I think we should change this category to just Robert Stack in general. Like,
Okay.
maybe like his locale. He's back at the gentleman's study in one of these.
Yeah,
He's
he
got the
was.
carousel, the school.
Robert Stack in general. How are we not going to give that a thumbs up every time? Robert Stack's great.
I guess, but sometimes he's in some boring places and wearing some boring outfits, and his narration is kind of boring.
I'm going to give this a sideways, and that's really just for the carousel, not his outfit.
Yeah, I'm about sideways in that one, too.
We know that Samantha's just waiting for him to wear some turtlenecks, and every episode she tunes in and she's like, is this the one?
And I'm disappointed every time.
No, it's not. Is this the one where he's playing tennis without a shirt on? Oh, no, it's not. That was just a photo. That
You
was
can
on the
find
internet.
that one. That's abundant on the internet.
Yeah,
it's not hard to find. There's a lot of thirsty
it's
ladies
not
that
as sexy
circulate
as
that
people think
photo
it is.
all over the place.
It's not.
His pants are so high-waisted in that.
Yeah, it's
I don't
not
know.
the
There's
best.
there's shots of young Robert Stack that are a lot more appealing than shirtless Robert Stack playing tennis at the country club. I don't know.
No.
I know a lot of people disagree with us, but
Just no.
it's not my favorite.
We are trying to alienate every single listener.
Including people who have crushes on Robert Stack to
Which,
this day.
of course, they would be listening to our show.
Of course they would.
A bad plan.
Oh my god. Guys, go give us 5 out of 5 Robert Stacks on iTunes to cancel out all the 1-star reviews we're gonna get. How do you rate this episode as a whole? I'm gonna do 4 out of 5 Robert Stacks.
I was going to say 3.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the reenactments in particular. There are some depressing things that bring it down for me, so I'm a 4, but
I feel like 6 mysteries, again, too many mysteries. It's just speeding through things where in some
It did
cases I would like
glaze over.
more information.
yeah.
It's kind of too much and all over the place. The variety is nice, and some of the stories are good, but it's just not my favorite episode.
I'm big on the reenactment, so I'm giving this one a 4, but not a 5. This is no Kurt McFall.
If only. Few things are, my friend.
It's true.
Few things are.
It's quite true.
My new favorite tweet is someone, I have no idea who this person is, just tweeted, and I know nothing about them or what their other tweets are like. I would just want to watch Unsolved Mysteries with you, bitch. All lowercase, no punctuation.
Which really sums up Liz and I's friendship.
Yes.
We just want to watch Unsolved Mysteries
I just
with you,
want to watch
bitch.
Unsolved Mysteries with you, bitch. Which, let's put that on some t-shirts. I would wear that around.
Yes.
Do you want to start recommendations this week while I debate what I'm going to recommend?
We could just listen to Jazzlyn again. I'm sure they'd be fine with it. So I have a recommendation of a Netflix show.
Okay.
This is the Netflix original series that's pretty new. I want to say it came out like a month ago, maybe slightly sooner. It is called A Shot in the Dark.
Oh.
And I really like it. It's a show where they follow 3 companies of stringers. Do you know what that is?
No.
I didn't know either until I watched the show. A stringer is a freelance videographer who sells their footage to news outlets.
So this is like the movie Nightcrawler.
I've never
but
seen it.
real.
Maybe.
Okay.
These people are in Los Angeles and sort of the surrounding areas, and they basically race around in these really fancy cars. They have police scanners, and some of the bigger companies even have like dispatch centers where they basically race around to car fires, police chases, murders, anything that makes the news basically, and they try and get video footage and then sell it to the local stations. First of all, the premise is really fascinating. It was a job that I had never known existed, and it's really interesting to follow these guys around and see, like, one, how they deal with seeing some pretty awful shit. And, some of them are a little more callous than others, and they interact with, they see police and firefighters all the time, so some of them, like, try and build rapport. Other ones are kind of, like, assholes to them, and you see kind of, like, the main guy who has the biggest company, and then you see kind of, like, the little guys who are trying to keep up, and it's interesting because these people really, like, built this industry in Los Angeles from nothing, and now they have some very successful businesses. It's also beautifully shot. Like, the camera work is kind of incredible. It's almost too much at times. Like, you can tell that they're trying to be a little Fast and Furious. Like, there's a lot of fast car engine sounds that you can tell were put, like, in post.
Sure.
There's also, they do a ton of these shots.
Why don't we add that to our show?
Some fast car engine sounds.
Yeah, just like revving engines all the time.
That'll really appeal to our male audience, I think. I don't know. I think that
don't you guys
people
love
would hate that.
revving engine sounds when you're smoking your little cigars?
That's what men do, right?
That's what men do.
Travis and I binged this show in a couple days, and every single episode, I swear, because he's a mechanic, he's like, that car doesn't sound like that. And I'm like, I don't care. It's adding to it.
I'm sure it's really bothering him.
It probably did.
Where he's like, but now this doesn't make sense.
I know. They also do a ton of these shots where the camera is mounted outside of the windshield looking at the driver. So you see, like, the driver while he's talking, and then you see, like, the city flashing in the background, which is kind of cool the first time, and then they do it a million times each episode, and you're like, all right, we're trying a little too hard.
We get it.
But I do forgive it because it's really well done. And the first episode is nuts. Like, if you don't watch the show, at least watch the first episode because some crazy shit happens. The first 2 episodes kind of cover that, and yeah, it's worth watching just for that because it's bananas. I will say, and I don't want to spoil it, but those are, like, the most exciting episode of the series, but I still enjoyed watching the whole thing because you kind of get, like, these guys' stories, and you see all these different types of things that they run after, like fires and robberies, and they put themselves in some pretty dangerous situations, and I don't know. I found it really interesting. It made me wonder if we have people like that here. I don't know that we do
have enough car fires.
I don't know either. And when I think about, it's been a long time since I've watched, like, network television news, but I don't think there's often, because they'll show, like, the footage that they get, and it's really good. Like, it's they carry around huge professional cameras and get, like, really well shot footage of, like, a car accident or someone getting arrested. They'll do this thing where they film police chases, and, like, in order to sell a good police chase, you have to get the passing shot. So you have to get, like, the police chasing the car. Then you have to, like, jump back into your car and, like, race. So you have to race to get in front of the police chase so that you can jump out of your car and get a shot of the car and the police going by. Then you have to jump back in your car and race to, like, follow the chase and get the shot of them arresting the guy or whatever. It was really interesting. And not a job I'd want, but...
See, now I want you to watch this movie, Nightcrawler, which stars Jake Gyllenhaal. And
I've heard of this movie.
A few years ago. Not so many. I want to say 3 or 4 years ago.
Not so many years?
Not so many years ago. Where he is one of those people and is a total creep.
Okay.
So now I'm like, oh, how realistic was that?
I don't know. You can watch the show to find out.
Dun, dun, dun.
I really loved it. I've recommended it to a couple people, and, like, one of Travis's friends texted us, like, 2 days after we recommended it to him, and he's like, I just watched the whole series. So it's really good.
I'm kind of surprised.
And very well done. Like, Netflix is doing a good job with their original shows.
Yeah, that's true. I'm kind of surprised you didn't recommend Canada's Worst Handyman.
Oh my god. You guys,
just kidding.
I should have recommended it because I fucking love that show. I actually was Travis. There's only 2 seasons on Netflix.
I know. I just finished it.
We finished it. I'm so sad. I actually had Travis scouring the internet to try and find it illegally because I want more, and there's nowhere.
Really? Because the first few seasons aren't on Netflix.
We couldn't find it anywhere. There's quite a few seasons. There's a lot of Canada's Worst Driver. So this show, if you've never heard of it, is they take...
It's like, very much what it sounds like.
It's exactly what it sounds like. They take 5 people that are terrible at handiwork, and they put them in, like, the seasons I watched, there was a bed and breakfast in, like, a wilderness lodge. They each get a room, and they have all these tasks. So build a shelf, do drywalling, do flooring, put a sink in. And they're so bad at it.
It's kind of hard to watch sometimes because
It's-
they're so bad.
so-
It's almost a little stressful.
I
but
forced
it's
Travis to watch
extremely
it
amusing.
because it's one of my new favorite shows. And he is extremely handy. So frequently, I'll just be watching it, just laughing my ass off. And then I'll just look over at him because he's not laughing. And he just has his head in his hands.
Because someone is trying to like nail in a screw.
Oh, yeah.
Or something.
You have to
Yeah.
at least watch season 3 for one guy, Joe. They nickname him the Bullet. And he's just this huge, like, muscly dude who is only good at hammering shit. So every time they give him a task, he'll, like, try and do it until you can kind of see his, like, brain short circuit. And then he's like, just give me a hammer. And he just smashes it.
It's something. If you want to feel better about your handiwork skills.
Oh, yeah. I'm not handy at all, but I frequently watch this show and I'm like, I could do this. It's not
that
hard.
I would not try to hammer that screw. So
I would at least try and screw in a screw.
Yeah, so I can't be that bad.
Oh my god, it's so good. The host is also hilarious and like will make fun of people in ways that are just kind of subtle and like they don't get it, but the audience gets it.
It's very deadpan. Yeah.
It's extremely deadpan. They bring in like experts to help them or whatever. I don't know. It's really good and I wish Netflix would get more of the seasons.
Netflix,
because I miss
we
it.
need more Canada's Worst Handyman.
I finished season 3 and I was like, I need like 20 more episodes of this. It's so good. So yeah, I have 2 recommendations for you. And I tried to watch Canada's Worst Driver. I just didn't have the same appeal. But it's the same thing. It's people that can't drive and they make them drive.
That would actually stress me out a lot.
The only episode the one episode I remember, like one woman showed up in like 4-inch heels to her like driving test or whatever.
My feet hurt just thinking about that.
Yeah, they're like, how are you going to drive in 4-inch heels? And she's like, I'll make it work. And then she tries and can't do it or whatever. I don't know. It's just a bunch of people that can't drive a stick shift and they put them with the stick shift. I mean, I would
can't
look
drive
bad.
a stick
Yeah, I
shift.
would look bad if I tried to do that.
There's my confession.
Anyway, that's what I got for you. Did you decide on a recommendation? You could have done it in Canada's
I
Worst
could have done
Handyman.
Canada's
I
Worst
stole it
Handyman.
from you.
That's fine. I brought it up. It's a joint recommendation. I'm also going to recommend a show. Probably everybody's already watched this. I don't know if there's a point in recommending it, except that I want to talk about it because I'm rewatching it again. And that is The Night Manager.
Okay.
Which is on Amazon. It is a miniseries that stars Tom Hiddleston and Hugh Laurie. And it's fucking amazing. And I think I'm watching it for the 4th time. And I'm still like so wrapped
That cast
in
immediately appeals to me.
the story. Everybody in it is so good. It's shot beautifully. Like it I can't remember if there's like 6 or 8 episodes, but it's just like a long, beautiful movie. And it's kind of a spy story, so it's weird that I'm recommending it because there's really nothing I care about less than spies. Just to alienate some more people.
You don't like spies?
No.
Why not?
Mm-mm. Like a Bond movie or a Jason Bourne movie, that could not have less appeal to me. I do not care.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I guess I don't love those kinds of movies, but I don't hate them either.
Can't even explain it. I think it's because I'm not a nationalist, and so their motivation for doing all these things makes no sense. Like,
Okay, I can understand that.
who why are you doing any of this? But anyway, in this movie, Tom Hiddleston is this like extremely competent hotelier, night manager guy who gets sucked in to exposing some international criminals by accidentally coming upon some evidence, and then gets, I'm gonna spoil it slightly, this doesn't happen until the end of the first episode, he gets converted into a spy, recruited as a spy for the English government. But so that does not sound appealing to me at all. But I think I started watching it like not even knowing what it was, where I was just like,
It doesn't really sound like a spy movie if you just read the title, The Night Manager.
yeah.
So I can
It's
see.
just like him trying to bring down the Hugh Laurie character. And I can't remember her name, but it has the woman who plays the female detective in Broadchurch. For anybody who watched Broadchurch, which is an amazing show, she does a great job, obviously. The acting in it is so good. I think the story is really good. And I feel like I could just keep watching it forever. I don't know. Also, yeah, there's something really humorous to me in a lot of like spy shows or detective shows. Like the fact that there's like this attractive woman is like her whole character, kind of.
Oh, yeah, I do hate that. It's a trope that's gotta go.
Yeah, that like honeypot character. It's like, how is this female spy going to infiltrate such and such? It's like, well,
With her boobs.
because she's so hot, everybody will want to sleep with her. That's Tom Hiddleston in this movie. Like, if you're familiar with the concept of male gaze, which is something in a movie that drives me insane, like the shot of a woman getting out of a car that starts with her foot and then scrolls up her whole body, that's how this show treats Tom Hiddleston. It's fascinating. Like, part of the reason that he's good at being a spy is because he's handsome and everybody wants to hang out with him.
I mean,
and there's just lots of shots of him like showering and shit. So
if you're a big fan of Tom Hiddleston, you know who you are.
You know who you are.
You probably already watched this.
You've watched this 1,200 times. It's an interesting little gender reversal there, I'm going to say, which I really appreciate. So hat off to you, Night Manager.
Travis and I are putting off watching Vikings, so I might need to watch this show instead. I don't know.
Why are you putting it off?
We watched like all of the seasons up until now of the show Vikings on the History Channel, and it just got a little weird to the point where like I kind of like dreaded watching it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, like series get that way. And so like the next season has come out and we feel like we are sort of invested in the show now and we're a little invested in finding out what happens, but we also like don't really want to watch it. It's very weird. So we like
you have to kind of know what happens, but in another way you actually don't want to spend the time watching it.
So
I know exactly.
We have the episodes like lined up in the queue, and like the other night we had literally nothing to watch because we finished Canada's Worst Handyman, we finished A Shot in the Dark, and we just kind of like stared at Netflix, like bould not wanting to say that we should watch Vikings.
I think you should give this a try because it is exciting. I would recommend it. If anybody has watched it and they have some thoughts, maybe things I'm wrong about that I just said, let me know. I would
tweet us at perhaps it's you.
I would love an excuse to talk about it. So
sure. I think that's all we got for you this week.
I think so. So many mysteries.
Thanks to everyone who's reviewed us on iTunes. We really appreciate it.
Except for that one star person.
Except for that one asshole who gave us 1 star.
Which we're not bitter about at all. And it's totally fine. And
follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're at Perhaps It's You. Shout out to Thomas, who made an awesome haunted as fuck image.
Yeah.
It's in
and now you can get a mug on Redbubble or whatever that site's
says
called.
Haunted as fuck, and it's in the like the script, the in between each segment of Unsolved Mysteries script.
Samantha ordered one. So
I got a coffee mug coming.
She won't have to use my little mermaid mug from the 80s anymore. She'll be able to use her very own Haunted as fuck mug I'm
very excited about
when we record. Yeah,
it's amazing to me that people are creating like fan art.
I kind of can't
from our show
wrap my mind around it.
I think I told Liz that we're like Karen and Georgia from My Favorite Murder, even though we're not. Because they have like an entire industry devoted to fan art.
Really, really not. But it still is pretty cool.
Yeah, you can see it on all our social media. Go check it out.
And if you have a ghost story or some other weird story, we would love for you to email us.
Email us at perhapsitsyoupodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, because we are collecting those and we're going to put together an episode
promise we'll do a bonus episode
of listener stories.
It'll probably be after the holidays.
Yeah,
we don't have a lot of time.
We're combining all of our resources there. So that'll happen one of these days. If you want your story to be included,
please
get in touch.
Email us. And yeah, go solve some mysteries.
Yeah, I'm going to eat these cookies Samantha brought now. Probably all of them. So that's
great.
My afternoon. Everybody else, go solve some mysteries.
Yep. Bye.
Love you. Bye.